Should I try again? Okay. Welcome to the March 6, 2025 meeting of the Transient Guest Tax meeting. Do we need to do roll call? Or are we good enough? Okay. Okay. I am going to jump to item number 3, which is the approval of the November 13th, 2024 minutes.
Move to approve.
I have minutes to be approved, and I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those against, I guess no one, so 2-0. Let's move on to our budget, and Josh, that's your area. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we wanted to give a brief overview on just how TGT works, where the money comes from, where it goes, just because this is, I think, the first meeting of the year, and just good to do a reminder for the public as well as the agencies that receive the money on kind of how this all works and where it goes to. So with that being said, today what we're going to be doing, like I said, TGT overview, organization summary, and some other important notes that the committee might feel that is important to discuss. So on your screen now is all the resolution numbers that's been passed in the past 10 years. I'm not going to read this all, but the high level overview of this is that right now there's a 7% TGT sales tax. And through 2027, that 7% runs through 2027, and then an additional 6% runs through 2032. We do have a base 5%, which goes towards our general fund and then Visit Topeka, which we'll get to in a sec. But long story short, 7% through 27, then 6% through 2032, then 5% onward, unless the council or the governing body chooses to renew a TGT portion of the sales tax. So here's how the breakdown works. So in 2024, of that 7%, about $3 million was collected. Now in that, 1% goes directly to Sunflower Soccer, 1% goes towards 4 organizations, with Evel Knievel no longer being here, but they are Jayhawk Theater, Constitution Hall, and Evergy Plaza. And then that base 5% goes towards Visit Topeka, and then the Topeka bid, where they bid on getting events in the city. Now, in that Sunflower Soccer portion, and we'll get to a little bit in a sec, that goes to pay the special assessments on that. So they can use it for projects, but the special assessments expire next year, but we need to make sure there's money in the fund for this year and next year to pay off those specials. And then the key thing to note too is on your screen, just because Evel Knievel's listed, that's what they would have gotten for 24. Obviously, we did not distribute that, but that's just to give an idea how much their portion was. And then finally, the financial summary of those 4 organizations. What's on your screen is how much has been distributed to date, and then what they were budgeted to potentially receive from 2016 to when this tax eventually expires through 2027. As you may know, earlier in the summer, or in last summer, sorry, the council did make a motion to approve all of the Evel Knievel dollars that have not been distributed yet and would not be distributed in the future, would go towards an ice skating rink near Evergy Plaza. I think we're going to talk about that a little today, but that's where that money is coming from. And then some other important notes, kind of like I just alluded to, that cumulative fund balance that has built up because of Evel Knievel is currently $93,553. Now, future collections through the end of 27 would be about $90,000, to where if we were dedicating to the ice skating rink this money like we voted on, be about $183,000 projected is what would go to them. And then also, Sunflower Soccer current fund balance is about $700,000. That's a later agenda item, but like I said before, we owe the special we need to pay the special assessments on them for this year and next year. So we need to make sure there's at least $275,000 of fund balance each year to pay those specials off. And then finally, I forgot to list this, but Councilman Hofer reminded me, on this that in our base 5% TGT sales tax, since 2016, there's been a roughly like a $52,000 fund balance been sitting there. I'm not sure on the history of that, of why it's been not used for the last decade. That's something this committee can discuss on reappropriating later down the line. I just wanted to get on people's radar because when we look through fund balance and stuff like that, getting things closed out, that's just some money sitting there that could be put to use by this committee because this committee oversees TGT funding. So,
How much is that again? Sorry.
no, you're good. I think $52,114, I think.
And it's just sitting there?
Yeah, I think what happened is when in 2016 we renewed it, that was probably money sitting in from the previous renewal, and so it just never got dispersed out. But that's almost a decade ago. But that is money just sitting there.
Okay, thanks.
And that is money specifically dedicated to TGT. So as far as I know, we have to spend it or authorize what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to talk about that later.
If we have time, yeah, we were.
Okay.
Because
Well, I have some thoughts on that, so whenever
Yeah.
we talk about it.
I think there's a lot of thoughts out there, so it may take us a couple of meetings to decide what to do with that.
Right.
Okay, so that gets us up to date where we are. And that's all of our updates for the recipients, so anything else we were going to talk about? So we're ready to move on to our 3 main recipients to give a update on what's been happening with them. First one is Constitution Hall. Chris, would you like to step up and speak and give us an idea where the
Yes.
project's going?
Sure. Thank you. Greg Glenn is on screen there, and he'd like to speak for us. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity. As you may or may not know, we are completing the remodeling or the restoration of Constitution Hall, and it should be open to the public this summer if our finances are all in order. It's a beautiful building. The contractor's largely complete inside. There is outside work that has to be done before we can occupy it, waiting for the warm weather for concrete that can be poured on the sidewalk in that area. We have certainly appreciated the help of the city through this tax. It's allowed us to stabilize the building at a time when it was literally falling down. And it is now a beautiful building that will house exhibits that we are in the process of planning that tell the story about the building. One of the city's oldest commercial building, the home of the Free State Legislature. It's a nationally historic, important building. It received a National Park Service Save America's Treasure Award, recognizing it as an American treasure. I think it is a resource that few in the community know. There is going to be a room on the second floor that will allow community events, receptions, and the like. And I think this is going to be a huge asset to the community, and we look forward to being able to open this. And we'd ask if you have any questions.
Any questions? Okay, I'm excited that it's opening this summer, and will you please let me know when you're ready to have the dedication and open it up? I'd like to be there.
We will let the whole council know, in present and past, that have helped us get this far, and you'll be invited.
Great, thank you. Okay, our next update is on Jayhawk Theater.
Yeah, thank you, Chairwoman. My name is Mark McAllister. I'm the treasurer of the board of the Historic Jayhawk Theater, and appreciate a few moments here to share. We are calling this our Q1 Snowmageddon 2025 highlights. So in spite of whatever the heck Kansas weather's been doing, we're excited to announce our construction crew is on schedule, and they're doing just a bang-up job. I wanted to focus on two quick things here in my few minutes. First was a few findings we've got on economic feasibility of the theater. And then the second, I'll go over a few construction updates. In partnership with Sean Dixon and the team over at Visit Topeka over the last few months, we found a couple of things that we find really interesting. Number one, every single peer historic theater has soared past pre-pandemic revenue numbers. And this obviously is in the face of, while many industries have seen struggling recovery over the last few years, arts and culture and entertainment seem to be just thriving. And we think this can be true for Topeka as well. The second thing we observed is that when people buy tickets to attend one of these theaters or one of these smaller spaces, they end up showing up, and they showed up really despite any of the things that stood in their way, whether that's weather or whatever. This leads us to believe that, regardless of some of these external factors, a vibrant historic theater can really contribute to maintaining foot traffic and tourism traffic in downtown spaces. So this kind of led us to believe, that as a mid-sized, flexible venue, we fill this, important niche here in Topeka, and we want to continue developing that. As Sean says, we want to be the speedboat of downtown Topeka traffic. The other thing we also found there was that even with just 50 headline events a year, the economic numbers, or we can generate about up to $1.5 million of additional tourism revenue beyond the ticket revenue just by bringing folks into the city. This obviously gets us really excited. It's really kind of the core driver behind the project here. So shifting to the construction updates real quick, we do have a few highlights for a very active Q1. This afternoon, actually, our team is meeting to review the design development plans. Our architects, contractors, board members, and then we've got a couple specialty consultants are working on finalizing those plans. For those familiar with the construction process, this is obviously exciting news because it means that of the sprint funding we've received, it'll get us all the way through the close of design development, which is a really critical step. The next phase of the process is completing the full set of construction documents. This means that all funding from this point on will trigger the next set of critical steps as part of the project. On Monday, March 10th, we are hosting a VIP legislative reception to thank the state of Kansas and the Department of Commerce for their commitments with Sprint. We'll obviously highlight the impacts of Sprint, and it's the first time post-demolition that we'll reopen the theater. We'd love, obviously, for all of you guys to join. We are on pace to spend the full allotment of that $5 million of Sprint funds by the end of this month. So we'll conclude here in Q1. Those Sprint funds will have been applied to the most critical sets of infrastructure needs for the theater. So this was our alley foundation restoration and waterproofing, our interior and above grade masonry, our interior demo, structural steel, and abatement. We are proud to announce that 99+% of those funds either went to the construction or adjacent property acquisition for the project. The next steps, our priority is to complete the critical infrastructure required for opening the theater. The next two critical items on our construction schedule do total more than $3 million, $2 million for structural steel, and then $1.2 million for an elevator and ADA accessibility. As part of the building, these are obviously two essential components and are our next priorities. Our primary objective from the very beginning of all this was to take Jayhawk Theater and make it a community asset that was durable for the next century. And we really want to be extremely grateful and thankful for the work that you guys done, the work of this committee. Really appreciate the commitment of those TGT funds here to this project. We are working diligently to maximize every dollar we receive, leveraging additional support from the community and putting those funds to use. As we sprint to 100, we look forward to reopening Topeka's historic theater. And we look forward to celebrating that next summer, where we can celebrate in 2026 the commemorative anniversary, the centennial anniversary of the Jayhawk Theater. So that's what I got. If you got any questions, happy to answer, and hopefully we see you on Monday next week.
Christina, Spencer, any questions? Sure.
Not so much questions, it's just a comment. Thank you for all your hard work. I know
Yeah.
Joanne has said before that y'all are a hard-working board, and it's always good to see that. And I know how hard Joanne works as well, but we are excited, since my husband and I frequent downtown quite a bit, and where to go. But good
I love
luck.
it. I really appreciate it.
There. But good job to you all.
Mark, thank you for the report, and I'm hoping to be there Monday evening.
Sounds good.
Okay, our next one, I am not sure. Kurt, did you want to do an update on the plaza itself?
I'm going to have Josh go over the fourth quarter update that he provided to the finance office, and then we could go into the other.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the time. Josh Sturm, Director with Evergy Plaza. So our fourth quarter was another successful one for us this year. It really kicked off with a collaborative event that we had with Thunder over the Heartland. We were able to host a kickoff event for them, a great community event that was able to engage the patrons of our community with some of the best pilots of the nation. And so it was great to see the turnout with that. A range of kids and adults all attended. So we kicked off the fourth quarter there. And then as we rolled into some of our holiday festivities, we enhanced the plaza again this year with a lighting package, as well as the mayor's tree lighting again that we did in collaboration with Miracle on Kansas Avenue Parade. So that event continues to grow. We actually added some pre-event activities to the tree lighting celebration with the road closures and the different parade route. And so we had another great year with that event. So other things that we actually did in the fourth quarter was the continued relationship with the city of Topeka with their trunk or treat event. They always host that right there in front of Evergy Plaza. It's always a great turnout for that. And so we're happy to continue that relationship there. So any questions for me? That's kind of the recap of what we did fourth quarter.
Any questions? Okay, well, you didn't mention one thing.
What's that?
Evergy Plaza's in the black.
That is good.
Finances are good, so that was great news to hear, and I'm looking forward to St. Patrick's Day parade festivities.
Yes, we are too. So we're looking forward to hosting them again, and it'll be another great weekend for downtown. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, then let's go to the ice rink.
Thank you. You stole part of my thunder.
I did.
First off, I want to thank all of you as committee members for your diligence and the time and effort that you put in to ensuring that these transient gas tax dollars get invested in our community and the benefit that provides everybody in the community as well as travelers and tourists that pass through here, and we hope they stay here. One of the things, my primary purpose for being here today is to update you on the ICE project. And since the cat's out of the bag, I want to build on that a little bit. 2024, we finished in the black. And that is the first time since we opened, the first year since we opened, that we have finished in the black. So that is a good thing. We're going to build on that and continue to make improvements that expand the scope and operation of the plaza. And obviously, number one on that list is the ice rink. A few things have changed in our process of getting the ice rink built. And I'll probably have to keep these glasses on because that's the only way I can see my notes. So, first of all, we've learned a couple of very valuable lessons in the process of trying to complete the ice rink. And one of those is that getting sponsors to front $400,000 for a project like this is very difficult and challenging. And after 3 attempts at that, we took a pause and looked at the scope of the work that we were trying to accomplish and where we were headed with it. And I want to give a lot of credit today to Kelly Foster, who's back here behind me with MCP Development, for helping us work through the design and construction of the ice rink. And one of the things that we've learned is there is a better way to build, a more efficient way to build the ice rink than what we had originally planned on building. And we want to capitalize on that, because what it will do is allow us to get the concrete portion of the ice rink built early in, and I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, we're planning on starting on April 21st, which is just a few weeks away, with the dirt work and the preparation for the construction of the concrete. But one of the major changes we've made in that design is, rather than put the glycol lines in the concrete, as we all know and we've all witnessed in the last 6 months, the extreme extreme changes in Kansas weather, that's hard on concrete, but it's even harder on when concrete cracks and you have a glycol line break or crack, then you've got additional maintenance. So the design that we're going to go with will eliminate the glycol lines being in the concrete, and instead it will be a liner with the glycol lines built into it that will roll out. You flood it, freeze the ice, have your ice season or ice event, and then it can be rolled up and stored then, and then you have the concrete slab there to utilize and support other events. And that's really one of the things that I want to highlight today, is that by starting the physical construction of that slab, that concrete structure, and it will have all of the light standards integrated into it, that as the ice rink construction continues, we don't have to back up and do any more concrete work. So, but what that will do is allow us to have that slab of concrete out there from the time it's completed, maybe in the June time frame, that we can use that for additional events, support structure for existing events. The concrete slab will be approximately 40 to 42 feet wide and about 100 feet long. So that's a space that we can utilize. If we had to, we could even put a tent over it. They make tents that big. So there are a lot of things that we can do to increase our revenue and increase our income picture on the plaza with having that concrete out there through the balance of this summer and fall. And then in spring of 2026, then we would anticipate going back in and buying the appropriate chillers. That's another savings that we've realized out of this. And Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong, but using this method, we'll be able to save a total of somewhere around $150,000 on the overall cost of the project. We had originally estimated this project to be somewhere in the 750 range, 750 range, and we're gonna be able to peel about 150,000 off of that by going this route. The nice thing is that the ice rink the construction of the ice rink, or the slab, the concrete slab, what we're calling phase one, will be paid for, and can be paid for with the Evel Knievel funding that you allocated to us at the last meeting. So that will completely cover that portion of the construction. Then, let me go back to my notes here. Although we haven't been able to secure that large sponsor of 400,000, one of the things that has happened as we've evolved through this is we have every one of those that we talked to for that amount of money said they were more than happy to help at a smaller level. So what we're going to do between now and the winter is continue to secure that sponsorship, that level of sponsorship that's needed to fund the second phase of the project. It's anticipated that the second phase will begin as soon as weather permits in the spring of 26 and finish in 26. If there's anything left from a funding source or from a funding standpoint, at the end of that, we have the ability to even, if we have to, take out a small loan to wrap a ribbon on it at the end of the construction process in 2026. So I think that pretty well encapsulates everything that we're doing at this point, what our plans are. We have learned a lot about ice and what it takes to have an effective ice rink and where the benefits are and how to build one in an economical fashion without sacrificing anything from a quality standpoint. Kelly is here. I will let him answer any questions for you if you have any, and I will obviously take any questions that you all have as well.
Okay. Well, I'm going to explain what the process we're looking at. We're going to go back and modify again our resolution. And the resolution we're working on, basically, the money that will be there through the TGT fund will fund phase one, the concrete. Any additional work that comes after that is all sponsorship money. So it's a little different than what we had before. But this gets the project up and running. They can have the ice rink rolled out for next winter.
Well, the first winter would be the winter of 26.
Yep. And it'll just kind of take off and go from there with income. But this allows any group that's coming in mid to late summer, additional space that they can rent or a specific space they could rent, and increases their income, which in turn will help pay for the construction to finish it. So basically, we're giving the seed money to start it, and that's what the proposal is for us to look at. So now, if you have any questions, Christina?
So that's what we're going to be looking at right now?
Yes.
Okay, so is that going to be 90,000, 93,000, or what exactly is the amount?
It will be the money we have now, and then the money to come.
So the money we have now is 93,000, and then each subsequent year, so for 25, 26, and 27, it'd be $90,000 in total for those 3 years.
So give me one lump sum.
Total $183,000.
And before, what was that we had talked about when we voted?
What we
it.
voted on would be about that amount.
Yeah.
It's actually gone up a little bit from what we originally thought.
Just because TGT collections came in a little higher, yeah.
Okay. So are we talking about this now?
Yes.
Okay, so I think it sounds like a wonderful plan. I'm going to reiterate what I did when we had this conversation at the governing body. I think my disappointment was everyone knew, and if people say that they didn't know, well, I'm like, how could you not know that for years and years and years, through 3 city managers at least, Noto had been asking for a chunk of TGT money. Everything is said, we're all together, we're all one, both sides of the river, it's all, we're in this together, and yet somehow, and I understand the length of time that these monies have to go to these certain entities, and I also know it was thrown out somewhere that Overland Station had money, and I think that was about 12 years ago, so that doesn't hold a whole lot of muster with me. So, I think that it's unfortunate that, Noto basically got shut out of any process at all. I know the time that I'm going to be on this committee, I'm going to be working hard with Pedro Concepcion to, be here as consistently as possible. He was not able to be here today, to keep reminding folks in the city, in this committee, reminding myself that, Noto, sometimes there's been the tendency to deliver with the words but not with the dollars. And I think that that's really unfair. And so that's all I really got to say about this.
And that is where the reserve fund is coming up. So keep that in mind.
Right.
But we need to get them to provide us with a idea of what they want to spend the money on.
Right.
And we haven't gotten that yet, so that's,
Right. When's the last time that was asked for?
I do not remember. I've only been on for 2 years.
Yeah.
So,
So, okay. We can discuss
Spencer,
that more.
do you have questions?
Yeah, when you say the money went up because collections are higher, I'm a little confused about that, just because all of those contracts are a set amount over 12 years, right? The only difference is, which I've complained about before, is instead of getting a lump, the same amount over 12 years, we did this weird thing where collections come, so I'm going to use bad examples, but if you're supposed to get $100,000, let's say $120,000 over 12 years, $10,000 a year, if we had collections come up in a year, we were giving that group who was supposed to get that 120 would get $14,000 that year, but then it took time off the 12 years. In other words, it's never supposed to exceed the amount agreed upon. It just could mean you got it quicker if collections were up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think when I was speaking on it, since we had COVID and right now we're behind budget on those collections.
Right. Well, and that's the follow-up to my question. So my question is, Evel Knievel was supposed to get a set amount. Mm-hmm. So we have the money we didn't pay them sitting there, but there was still a set amount of contract. So really, this allocation should only be whatever that set amount is, and then every overage, if we ever have it, should go back to trying either filling those gaps or spending it somewhere else. I guess that's my question.
That is correct, and I probably misspoke earlier on that, so that's my bad. But the way that $30,000 a year was established for 25 through 2027 that's about what Evel Knievel was receiving. So that's how that was calculated. I can go back and I don't know off the top of my head if that would put them, that threshold would put them over what Evel Knievel was budgeted.
Right, because
I can check that off.
I think the thing that the council approved was for whatever that total was, is supposed to be what they're getting, and then we would need to figure out what to, again, if there's overage, it needs to go to those other projects if we haven't met their full funding guarantee, and that would include Evergy Plaza, and even Evel Knievel, technically, if we didn't give them all their money, should go in that pot. So I just want to make sure that, because to Councilman Valdeviaclo's point, as we look at $53,000 we need to spend, and if there's some of those money, something like Noto is a prime candidate for that, so we can continue to spread it, but also meet the commitment we're trying to hit without shorting anybody. So we can talk about more about that. That's why I was a little, when we said it went up, I was just verifying that.
If memory serves me correctly, the allocation to Evel Knievel was $300,000.
Something, yeah, and so it's whatever we've paid plus the difference should be what we get. So I just want to make sure we're all good with that number and we know what it is. Because I don't want to accidentally move it the other way on you either.
Why
so. No, down. Down. I don't want to short you either. So perfect. Thanks.
Questions?
No, I don't.
We good? Okay, so I am going to make a motion, and this motion will be verbal. I talked to Amanda yesterday. She is working out the details of the old resolution versus what the new resolution is going to be. We will have it before us at, I believe, the October 18th meeting, or sorry, March 18th. Yeah, we're not October. March 18th. And it will be written in final form at that point with whatever we want to amend that night. So basically, it's going to outline and say that the money, the remainder of the money from Evel Knievel through 2027 will go to the ice rink. They are in the process of getting their construction budgets together, so there is going to be a time constraint that they want to get this. So we'll get the written resolution to you, but we'd like to, if we want to approve it today so we can get that finished and get it moving. So if you have no objections.
Well, I guess I have a question. I'm totally fine with this. I honestly don't understand what we're doing. Is Matt here? I thought we already approved to give whatever
Yes.
money was owed to Evel Knievel to this project, and that was already passed by the council. So what?
But there were some constraints in there.
Okay, so
That
we're
are
removing
changing.
we're changing this. Okay.
We're
that-
changing those, and there was a date in there that we had to have something happening by, and we're modifying that date.
Okay.
Was the date, do you remember, Matt, if it was
If
sometime
you don't have
in
every detail, that's fine. I
March
just
or
wanted to-
April?
Sorry, I don't have the dates, but I guess what we're needing is a motion for staff to draft a resolution of what you guys are asking for, and then authority to draft that contract with them to get that going.
Okay. Cool with that. Just
that
wanted to
work?
verify that's what we're doing.
Sure.
So the money hasn't changed. It's just construction timelines have, and we need to adjust the contract to fit within that construction timeline.
Yeah, so it's basically an amendment to the contract to fit those timelines.
And, well, I just have a question, not for you, but for Michelle and Spencer and whoever. So if we do that, vote on that today, and then when we have our next meeting on March 18th, are we going to also continue the dialogue about where excess overflow funds are going to, or how long are we going to have to wait on that dialogue?
We may do that today if we've got time. March 18th is city council meeting.
Oh, you mean,
So this is
so
our
we're
recommendation.
not even going to see the,
No, unfortunately, we're not going to see it. And we can get it to you. She thought she could get it in a few days. But
wait,
do you have a problem with that?
I do have a problem with that,
Now,
because
we can get it and we can do a Zoom call for approval once.
I would rather do that, because I think that transparency-wise, that's really what we should be doing.
I'm fine with
I'm
that.
fine.
Yeah, that helps us me understand what we're doing too.
Okay.
That
Is that
should be
okay?
nice.
I will direct legal to go ahead and get the resolution ready to go. And we will figure out a date where we can have a Zoom meeting to discuss the final version of it, make sure everything's fine with us, vote on it. And hopefully, do you think we can still get it on the,
If we have the Zoom
Madam
meeting.
Chair, if it's okay,
Wednesday.
and I don't know what the committee's thoughts are, but if we can have it drafted early next week, we could probably add it for discussion item to council on the 11th, and then bring it.
well, no, that's not what I'm worried about. We have to approve it first
Okay,
before it goes to council, and I'm hoping to have it on the March 18th agenda for council. So we would have to get it through us
Right.
and approved next week.
So, Chair.
Go ahead.
So do you think you'd have that done by Wednesday morning?
early next
Yes.
week.
Because
sir,
we could
sure.
schedule a Zoom if we're all available. Going to take us, what, 20 minutes, 30 minutes? On Wednesday. That way, if we approve it, you can then add it to the agenda that gets posted, that needs to be up by Thursday for public consumption to see it. And if we don't approve it, you don't have to put it on. But that fits in when, and it can be placed on the March 18th agenda for that Thursday publication of our, then we're meeting all our legal obligations too. So that would be my suggestion if everyone's good with that. If we can find the time Wednesday.
Chris,
Oh, but only if you can
that'll
get the
work for
contract.
you?
Yeah.
Okay, then that's what we'll go for.
Got it.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to Sunflower Soccer, I think it's Sunflower Sports Association now.
Good afternoon, committee members. Appreciate you guys being here and having us here. My name is TJ McDonald. I'm the executive director of Sunflower Sports, and with me is Dustin Gale, our board president. Today, we are here to talk about funding for phase 1 of our complex expansion project called Project Next Gen. To give you a little bit of background, Project Next Gen is a 5-year expansion project that we are working on in order to enhance sports tourism back here in Topeka. Many of you know, we were born and raised in Topeka. A while ago, Topeka was the hotbed of youth sports. Now that Kansas City has blown up with pretty much every square inch of it being turf, most youth sports has gone to Kansas City. We see that there is still a great need for Topeka to be a major location for youth sports, and so this project is designed to bring that sports tourism back and have a major economic impact on our community and to serve our local community as well. The designs overall for Project Next Gen would allow us to be more than just soccer, but as we have done our name change, all sorts of different kinds of sports, and be a local community complex as well to do things that are not sports related. So that is the entire goal and mission behind this expansion project. When it pertains to phase 1, I guess I should back up. We do have a video, correct? Yes. Yes, we do have a short video for you guys to see that we've released to the public this past Monday to give you guys an idea of our vision.
The all-new Sunflower Sports Association complex is building more fields with more possibilities right here in Topeka. Artificial and hybrid fields for year-round games with stadium lights shining down on moments that matter. We're bringing back high-end competition to the capital city. Join us in a new vision for youth sports in Topeka. We believe in empowering athletes to achieve their highest potential, both on and off the field. A goal we are determined to win together.
So that really encapsulates what we're trying to do with this Project Next Gen and this 5-year complex expansion. Right now, what we're talking about, what we would like to request funding for is phase 1, which would be putting lighting on our current turf field right now, as well as some additional lighting for a practice field next to it and parking lot lighting as well. In front of you that I've given is 2 proposals from a lighting company that we are working with that have shown to be the most effective for our needs right now. The first proposal in front of you, I believe, is, let's see here. It says it's $336,000. That will put lights on the turf field as well as lights on the back end of the west side and the east side. That'll give some lighting towards the practice field as well as some lighting towards the parking lot as well to make sure that there's some type of illumination on that end of it. The second proposal we have is if we went ahead and did additional parking lot lights in that parking lot next to our turf field. We see that as a major safety issue, that if we're going to continue to have games out there into the evening, that having sufficient parking lot lights out there is a safety thing. You guys are probably wondering what lights have to do with increasing sports, well, and the impact it has on our community. If we're able to extend our playtime into the evening with these lights, with our 2 major tournaments that we have, Governor's Cup and Nightmare, both a fall and spring tournament, we can add approximately 20 more teams to that registration. Currently, we are capped just based off of logistics of our complex at about 100 teams. So if we were to open this up, we could add additionally about 20 teams per tournament. To give you an idea of that impact, we have a very small tournament coming in April with just 3 teams, and those 3 teams are requiring 55 hotel rooms. So that is going to have a major impact if we can continue to grow these registrations for our tournaments, as well as other events that require a lighted field. In the past, there have been multiple sporting opportunities that we've missed out on, just because in the bid it requires that a field have some sort of lights on it, and we just don't meet those requirements for it. So this would allow us to really get into the game and bid on those events. For example, one was, I believe, D1 Ultimate Frisbee. We missed out on that one, and there have been some other major soccer tournaments that we've missed out on because we did not have a lit field. So that would allow those to come back as well. The overall impact of this project, once it would be finished, just on those 2 tournaments alone, would have an economic impact of roughly $1.7 to $2.5 million per tournament once the complex was completely finished. So that's why it's important that we get this project started. And this phase 1 really does open the door and really shows the community that we are intentional of what we're saying that we're wanting to do with the complex out there. So I'll open it for any questions or comments that you guys have.
Josh, you want to go ahead and do the financial end of it?
Oh, I was just going to say, so referring back to the slide presentation we gave, we have about $700,000 in this fund. Now, we owe some special assessments as part of the original resolution back in 2012, and those special assessments expire next year. So we need to make the special assessment payment this year and for next year, which is about $275,000 a year. And then also there's a slight admin fee that the city has with operating this fund, which is about $10,000 to $15,000. So those are the expenses that we have to make sure that we pay each year for the next 2 years. So with that being said, $450,000 is a rough estimate of what we can give out this year.
Okay. Their ask is for the 450,000.
Yeah, for specifically, do they go till 2027 as well?
No, this 1% runs through 2032.
2032. And how much do they usually get every year?
I think on the slide, let me go back.
Oh, sorry, how much do they get every year?
So what this 1% generates is, for 24, it was $437,000.
That's the year.
That's for a year, yeah.
And so how long have they been in this contract already?
I would have to look back. I think it's since 2012 is when we did the original agreement. There's been a lot of resolutions back and forth, so unless I'd have to refer to some people who've been on the committee a long time.
Okay, so let's just say it's 2012. I'm sorry, that's a 20-year contract?
It's been renewed. There's been renewals and things like that. I would have to get you the history on
I
that
do want the history on that, and I'd also like to know every year how much they've gotten. I don't have anything against you guys. My granddaughter grew up playing soccer out there. Now she goes to Kansas City and plays. What are your other funding sources?
So our other funding sources, like through our operational funding, is through our registration, through our programming, which we're also expanding as well outside of soccer. So right now we're in our first year of NFL flag. But through this, are you talking also about funding for this project itself?
Yes.
That will be sponsorship money as well.
And the total cost for what you're doing?
For the project as a whole,
project?
we haven't landed on that yet. We're still in discussions with Mammoth on getting numbers back on what the additional turf fields will cost, as well as the hybrid fields as well. So an overall project budget we don't have yet, but we are working on that. But that's why we have this cut up into phases.
So you don't have a budget yet, but when were you wanting to get this increase?
So
It's the regular funding.
It's the regular funding?
regular funding, yes, is what we have available
And
right
what
now.
do you usually use it for when you're not having a big enhancement?
So we have, it's been accumulating, but the last time we used it was for our previous complex improvements. So the turf field that's out there currently was a part of it, as well as some additional, and Dustin, you may be able to speak to this more since you were there.
Yeah, so the last one, 2019, we installed the turf.
Nope, sorry.
So in 2019, we obviously installed the turf field out at Sunflower, and then COVID hit. That was the last project that we had regarding TGT funds. Before that, we obviously had the building itself, some of the infrastructure and parking lots that were completed. And then obviously in 2019, we had some smaller parts of the project that were included with like a, what was it, recreational space where parents can kind of lounge. We have our picnic area, additional parking, things like that.
I'm going to let Spencer
Yeah.
take from here.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, yeah, this,
Well, I still have more questions, but.
unlike the other funds, this one is just it just accumulates until they come and make a request. They don't get a check, and then we have to approve the request, but even though the money is still theirs. And I think, are those payments we're still making, paying off the last project? So there's 2 years left of those.
The special assessments?
Yeah, that's what those are from the
Yes.
the previous turf project.
Yeah.
12.
Yeah, so special assessments payment this year and next year,
Yeah.
then they're off the books according to the county website.
So I think because of those payments, this is the first year in a while they've actually been able
Right.
to have new money.
So I'm just going to say at this point, I want to set up a meeting with you because I haven't been on this committee since the first year that I was on council. So in your first year on council, everything is just a blinding blur of things. And I want to understand more of this because I don't even want to talk anymore about this until I have a better understanding with this particular part.
Yeah, I'd be happy
Okay?
to, and I'll pull the resolutions and have them printed out,
Okay.
ready to review, so.
Thank you. Sure.
Yeah, we're going to, at some point, draft a resolution for them getting the next draw, the 450,000. That was the resolution that we were going to look at.
Right.
We haven't had time to do that yet.
Right. And I
So-
just have concerns, something going, if it was 2012 to 2032, that's mind-boggling. So we'll just have a meeting about it later. Thank you.
Okay, so if there's no more questions, TJ, we will get back to you on when we get that resolution put together, and we'll get it moving from there.
That works. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Now, since we have a few minutes, if you would like, well, we've got two things. We still need to elect a chair, and we have time to talk about the reserve fund. So let's go ahead and do the chair, and then we'll get to the other. So I am taking nominations for chair for the 2025 year. Go ahead.
Nominate Councilwoman Hofer.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion, I have a second. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, so I'm going to be chair for another year. So let's move on to the reserve fund. There is nothing specific that has been talked about for this, because we really didn't know until earlier this, whenever you did all the reserve fund, we did not know that we had that there. So we can let it sit, and I think it's been sitting long enough. So we need to look at what we would like to put that money towards. We can put it towards any of our existing projects, or we can open it up for proposals for new projects. So I'd like your opinion on what you'd like to do. Either one of you, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I don't disagree with the comments made earlier by Councilman Valdivia-Alcala. For years, NODO's come up here and made requests, and there just hasn't been opportunities. There's always groups. The list is long, and we know that. And so it's hard to make that choice regardless. But, I mean, if someone can make a contact with Pedro and them and say, if they've got some specific needs, I'd love to see them, and they can put them in front of us, I'm happy to take a look at that and consider allotting them those funds.
Is that sure what you'd like to see happen? Do we have any kind of a written guideline as to what the money can be spent on? Because that should go, if we contact Pedro, we should to have that so he knows exactly what he could put it towards that we would be willing to support.
I can do some digging. I know when they opened up that additional 1%, there was an application process that Jayhawk, when eventually the groups like Jayhawk, Evil Knievel, they got awarded. Maybe that process can mirror that, or maybe this process can mirror that process, just as an idea, but I could dig that up and see how that went back in 2016.
Well, I know that our guideline the last couple of years has been putting money towards, I'm not sure infrastructure is the right, but something that is there to support and help create more income and bring more people to the area, keep the money growing and benefiting whoever gets the money. Kind of the idea of the ice rink will have income from renting the skates and actually skating, and that will help sustain it and help bring more people in, do more things with, maybe put up, I don't know what I'd say. We were talking about the two buildings that would, one would be concessions, one would be for the actual rentals. But things like that that would help expand it. We want this money to go towards something that is just going to keep growing and growing. So we need to have some kind of guidelines that they know it's not for a one-time, I don't know, board that's going to direct you to something. It's got to be something sustainable that's going to help build. And anyone that would apply would need to know that anyway. So that's what I'm looking for, some kind of a guideline so they know what the money can go towards.
Yeah, I'll dig up some past information, see how they handled it in the past tonight, because I'm sure it's listed in a resolution back over a decade ago, so we'll find some stuff.
A little bit before my time. Okay, is there anything else?
So I do have a question, Chair. So this extra money that we're talking about, is the process going to be open then for everyone to apply? I mean, the entities that can apply, that come under whatever guidelines.
That is up to us to make that determination. If we feel like we want to take on a process of having people come in, we can. Or if we see that as a project that really needs to be done, we can direct towards that one.
Okay, and I'm not being snarky when I ask this
Oh, I know.
question. I need to understand how the ice rink thing came about. Was that open for everybody, or was that Evil Knievel is leaving, we have this extra dough, and the people came and said, here's our project, or was it applied, everybody applied? I do not know because I wasn't on the committee and didn't listen.
It was something that was brought to us, and at the time, we knew of nobody else looking for it. So.
But a application process was not put out?
No.
Okay.
So it's up to us, and it's at our discretion how we want to
Right.
direct the money.
Okay, so this probably sounds like I'm playing both sides, and I am. I'm going to play the side, well, if that's the way y'all did it, and all this money is going to the ice rink, then for $53,000, which a lot of people would consider chump change, but I'm sure Noto would love to have, then I would say I would like to go the way that you guys went. And the other hand, I'm saying from this point forward, I really think that it should be opened up. So I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth, but isn't that what politicians do? I don't know.
Some of it too is a time constraint. I mean, we have so much time to work with, and so if we want to get into an open,
Right.
it's open bid.
I'm just trying to
RFP.
get my chunk of change for an entity I know has been asking for years.
I mean, I wasn't here on the committee last year when the ice rink went down, so it's fine. I don't know what I would have thought that, open it up. Again, 53,000 is both not a lot of money, but also to the right organization.
It is.
A good chunk of change. So that's why I said I have no problem, since we have the discretion, knowing there's a group out there that's been asking for years, to say to Noto, bring us your proposal, and we'll get the guidelines for them and bring it to us, and then we can show everybody what we're trying to allocate it towards.
One thing we did go back and look out of the groups that had applied originally for the 10 years of funding. Some were defunct. Some had received their funding from another source. There just wasn't much that we could go back to for them. So we went with a group that had a good proposal, and I'm fine with talking to NODO and going that route, because in 2 years or less, we're going to have to open it up for the whole 1% if we renew the 1%.
Right.
So it'll
Okay.
be up to that committee probably
Right.
next year. It'll have to start working towards that.
Yeah, because it expires at the end of 27, so maybe talking about it through the duration of 26, early 27 would be a good idea.
Yeah, okay.
So if you're fine, we can direct it towards NODO, see what they have in mind, see if it's something that meets our guidelines.
Right, and then you'll get the guidelines, right?
Yeah, I'll do some digging on what was, how it was handled in the past, and I'll forward that the committee's way.
Okay, thank you.
Might take me a day or two though, but.
Okay, sure.
No hurry. The others, we want to get the other two going sooner, so if there's nothing else, I will adjourn the meeting.